Marcus Webb turned his old Honda onto Maple Street, his basketball gear sliding across the back seat. The evening sun painted the sky orange and pink. He was tired but happy. Practice had gone well. Coach said the college scouts were impressed with his performance last week. 3 different schools wanted him to play for them. His mother would be so proud. He checked the time on his dashboard. 6:15. His mom would be home from her shift at the hospital soon. Marcus wanted to get home first and start dinner. Maybe make her favorite pasta. She worked so hard to give him a good life. The least he could do was have a hot meal waiting. The radio played softly. Marcus hummed along to a song he knew. His mind wandered to the college letters sitting on his desk at home. Full scholarships, all of them. He just had to choose which school felt right. His guidance counselor said he could study anything he wanted. Basketball would pay for it all. Marcus was 17 years old. He was a senior at Lincoln High School. His grades were good, really good. He had a 3.8 average. He was in the National Honor Society. He volunteered at the community center on weekends teaching little kids how to shoot free throws. Everyone in their small town knew Marcus. He was respectful. He was kind. He stayed out of trouble. His phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from his friend Devin. "Good practice today, bro. You're going pro for sure." Marcus smiled. He wasn't thinking about the NBA yet. College first. Education first. That's what his mother always said. Then Marcus saw the flashing lights in his rearview mirror. Red and blue, bright against the darkening sky. His heart jumped in his chest. He hadn't been speeding. He was sure of it. He checked his speed. 28 miles per hour in a 30 zone. What did he do wrong? Marcus put on his turn signal. He pulled over slowly and carefully. He stopped under a streetlight where everything was visible and bright. His mother had taught him exactly what to do if this ever happened. Keep your hands where they can see them. Be polite, don't make sudden moves. Don't argue. Just survive the encounter and come home. He turned off his car. He rolled down his window all the way. He placed both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. His heart was beating fast now. He told himself to stay calm. He hadn't done anything wrong. This would be fine. Just a routine stop. Maybe a broken taillight he didn't know about. The officer took his time getting out of the patrol car. Marcus could see him in the side mirror. A white man with a thick neck and a crew cut. Officer Dale Hutchins. Marcus knew the name. Everyone in the black community knew that name. Hutchins had a reputation. A bad one. Marcus's hands felt sweaty on the steering wheel. He kept them there anyway. Don't move. Don't give him a reason. Hutchins walked slowly to the driver's side. His hand rested on his gun belt. His face showed no emotion. Cold eyes looked Marcus up and down like he was studying an animal. "License and registration," Hutchins said. His voice was flat. Not friendly. Not even professional. Just cold. "Yes, sir," Marcus said. His voice came out steady, which surprised him. Inside, he was nervous. "My license is in my wallet in my back pocket. My registration is in the glove box. I'm going to reach for them now." "Is that okay?" Hutchins stared at him. Slowly, Marcus moved his right hand very slowly. He reached for his wallet. His movements were careful and visible. He pulled out his license. Then he leaned toward the glove box with both hands visible. He took out the registration papers. He handed both to Hutchins. The officer looked at the documents. His eyes went back and forth between the license and Marcus's face. "Marcus Webb," he said. "Lincoln High School. Basketball player." "Yes, sir," Marcus said. "Where you coming from?" Hutchins asked. "Basketball practice at school, sir." "Where you headed?" "Home, sir. Just a few blocks from here." Hutchins looked into the back seat at Marcus's gym bag. "What's in the bag?" "My basketball gear, sir. Shoes, clothes, a water bottle." "You live around here?" "Yes, sir." "Oak Street." "With my mother." Hutchins handed the license and registration back, but he didn't walk away. He just stood there looking at Marcus, looking at the car. His jaw was tight. Marcus could see the wheels turning in the officer's head. Something was wrong. Marcus could feel it. "Your taillight is out," Hutchins finally said. Marcus's stomach dropped. "My taillight, sir?" "I didn't know. I just had the car inspected last month." "Are you arguing with me?" Hutchins's voice changed. Got harder. "No, sir. Not at all." I'm just surprised. I'll get it fixed right away. Step out of the vehicle. Marcus's mouth went dry. Sir, is that necessary? It's just a tail light. I said step out of the vehicle. Hutchins's hand moved closer to his gun. Marcus's training from his mother kicked in. Don't argue. Just comply. Stay alive. He opened the door slowly. He stepped out with his hands visible. His legs felt shaky, but he kept his movement smooth and non-threatening. Turn around. Hands on the hood. Marcus did as he was told. The hood was still warm from the engine. He pressed his palms flat against it. His heart was pounding so hard he thought Hutchins might hear it. Hutchins kicked Marcus's feet apart wider. Don't move. I'm not moving, sir. The officer patted him down roughly. Hands moving over his shoulders, down his sides, checking his pockets. Marcus kept absolutely still. He barely breathed. You got anything illegal in this car? Hutchins asked. No, sir. Nothing. You sure about that? Yes, sir. Very sure. You won't mind if I take a look then? Marcus's stomach twisted. He knew his rights. He could say no. But he also knew what happened to black men who said no to cops, especially cops like Hutchins. Do what you need to do, sir, he said quietly. Hutchins walked back to the passenger side. He opened the door. He started going through Marcus's car. He opened the glove box and threw papers onto the seat. He lifted the floor mats. He checked under the seats. Marcus stood with his hands on the hood. He didn't dare move. His phone was in his front pocket. Before getting out of the car, he had pressed record on his voice memo app. His mother had taught him that too. Always record. Always have evidence. He prayed the phone was actually recording. Hutchins moved to the back seat. He unzipped Marcus's gym bag. He pulled out the basketball shoes, the dirty clothes, the water bottle. He threw them on the ground. This car smells like marijuana, Hutchins announced loudly. Marcus's head snapped up. What, no, sir? I don't smoke anything. I'm an athlete. I get tested. Are you calling me a liar? No, sir. I'm just saying there's no marijuana in my car. I've never had drugs in my car. Hutchins walked back to his patrol car. Marcus watched him in confusion. What was happening? The officer opened his trunk. He stood there for a moment, his body blocking Marcus's view. When he came back, his hand was in his pocket. Marcus's blood ran cold. He suddenly understood. This wasn't a traffic stop. This was something else. Something worse. His mother's warnings echoed in his head. Stories from other families in their community. Young black men pulled over. Evidence that wasn't theirs is destroyed. Hutchins walked back to Marcus's car. He leaned into the back seat again. This time his body language was different. More purposeful. More deliberate. Marcus stood frozen at the hood of his car. The streetlight buzzed above him. Traffic passed on the main road a block away. Normal life continuing while his world was falling apart. He wanted to run. He wanted to shout. He wanted to call his mother. But he just stood there with his hands on the hood watching Officer Dale Hutchins plant evidence in his car. Hutchins's body blocked the view from his dashboard camera. Marcus noticed this right away. The officer was being careful. Too careful. He positioned himself at just the right angle. His shoulder and back faced the camera mounted in his patrol car. Whatever he was doing in Marcus's back seat, he didn't want it recorded. Marcus's hands trembled on the hood. He pressed them down harder to hide the shaking. His phone was still recording in his pocket. He hoped it was getting audio. He hoped it was enough. Well, 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 Hutchins said. His voice was loud, theatrical, like he was performing for an invisible audience. What do we have here? Marcus's throat closed up. He knew what was coming. He had heard this story before. Different names, different streets, same ending. Young black man pulled over. Drugs found. Life ruined. Some of the guys in his neighborhood had warned him. They said Hutchins was dirty. They said he planted evidence. But the complaints never went anywhere. Cops protected their own. Hutchins straightened up. He held a small plastic bag in his gloved hand. Inside the bag was white powder, maybe 2 ounces. Enough to change a traffic stop into a felony. Enough to take away Marcus's scholarships. Enough to destroy everything. This yours? Hutchins asked, but it wasn't really a question. No, sir. Marcus's voice cracked. He cleared his throat. That's not mine. I've never seen that before. It was in your car. Someone put it there. I don't do drugs. I don't sell drugs. I'm a student. I'm an athlete. Please, you can test me right now. I'll pass any test you want. Hutchins walked closer. He held the bag up near Marcus's face. You're telling me this just appeared in your vehicle? Like magic? I'm telling you it's not mine. Marcus's voice was shaking now. He couldn't help it. I don't know how it got there. You're a drug dealer, Hutchins said flatly. I'm not. I swear I'm not. Got college scouts looking at you, right? Good grades? Teacher's pet? Hutchins smiled, but there was no warmth in it. No humanity. Perfect cover. Nobody would suspect the good kid. That's not true. Marcus felt tears burning behind his eyes. He blinked them back. Don't cry. Don't show weakness. Please, sir. You can call my coach. Call my teachers. Call anyone. They'll tell you I don't do this. They'll tell me what they think they know. Hutchins put the bag on the roof of Marcus's car. They don't know what you really are. Marcus's mind raced. Think. There had to be a way out of this. Sir, that bag. Can you check it for fingerprints? If it's mine, my fingerprints will be on it. But they won't be. Because I never touched it. Hutchins's eyes narrowed. For a second, something flickered across his face. Annoyance, maybe. Or worry. But it passed quickly. That's not how this works, boy. The word hit Marcus like a slap. Boy, not son, not young man. Boy. The disrespect was intentional. Everything about this was intentional. Headlights appeared down the street. Another patrol car was approaching. Backup. Marcus didn't know if this was good or bad. Another witness might help. Or another officer might just back up Hutchins's lies. The second patrol car pulled up behind Hutchins's vehicle. The door opened. A female officer stepped out. She was Asian American, medium height, with her hair pulled back in a tight bun. Marcus could see her name tag as she walked closer. Officer Sarah Chen. What have we got? Chen asked. Her voice was professional but tired, like she'd been through a long shift. Traffic stop turned into a drug bust, Hutchins said. He picked up the bag from the car roof and showed it to Chen. Found cocaine in the back seat, about 2 ounces. Chen looked at the bag, then at Marcus, then back at Hutchins. Something in her expression shifted. Marcus couldn't read it. Was she suspicious? Did she believe Hutchins? Did she even care? He consent to the search? Chen asked. Yep. Hutchins lied. Said I could look through the car. That's when I found it. I didn't exactly consent. Marcus said quietly. He said he smelled marijuana. But there's no marijuana, I don't smoke, and that cocaine isn't mine. I've never seen it before. Chen walked around the car. She looked inside at the gym bag contents scattered across the seat, at the papers thrown on the floor, at the open glove box. Her face gave nothing away. Where exactly did you find it? She asked Hutchins. Under the driver's seat, pushed way back. He was hiding it. Under my seat? Marcus shook his head. That's impossible. I clean my car every week. My mom taught me to keep it neat. There was nothing under my seat. You calling me a liar? Hutchins stepped closer to Marcus. His hand went to his belt. No, sir. I'm just saying, I think you're calling me a liar. Hutch. Chen's voice was sharp. Back off, let him talk. Hutchins glared at her, but he took a step back. Chen looked at Marcus. What's your name? Marcus Webb, ma'am. Where you live, Marcus? Oak Street, 4 blocks from here, with my mother. What were you doing tonight? Basketball practice at Lincoln High. I was just driving home. Chen wrote something in her notepad. You're a student? Yes, ma'am. Senior. I have college scholarships. 3 different schools want me to play basketball for them. So you're saying you wouldn't risk all that for drugs? No, ma'am. Never. I worked too hard. My mom worked too hard. I wouldn't throw it all away. Hutchins snorted. They all say that? Chen ignored him. She walked to his patrol car and looked at the dashboard camera. She studied the angle. Marcus saw her eyes narrow. She looked back at where Hutchins had been standing when he supposedly found the drugs. The angle was wrong. The camera couldn't have captured it. "Your dash cam get the discovery?" Chen asked Hutchins. "Probably. Haven't checked yet." "Let's check now." Chen walked to his car and leaned in through the window. She pressed some buttons on the camera system. Marcus held his breath. Hutchins's jaw clenched. "We can review it back at the station." "I'm reviewing it now," Chen said. Her voice had an edge to it. She watched the screen for a minute, then two. Her face grew darker. When she straightened up, she looked at Hutchins differently, like she was seeing him for the first time. Or maybe seeing him clearly for the first time. "Your camera didn't catch the actual discovery," she said. "Your body was blocking the view." "So? That happens. The angle's not always perfect. But you knew exactly where the camera was. You positioned yourself to block it." "That's ridiculous." But Hutchins's voice was too defensive. Too quick. Marcus's heart jumped. Chen knew. She saw what Hutchins had done. Maybe there was hope. Maybe someone would actually help him. "How long you been on scene before I got here?" Chen asked. "Maybe 10 minutes, Hutchins said. "And in that 10 minutes, you pulled him over, ran his license, got him out of the car, did a full search and found drugs?" He consented to the search. It went quick. Chen looked at Marcus again. "Did you consent?" He said, "I wouldn't mind if he looked. I said, do what you need to do. But I didn't really feel like I could say no. I was scared." "Scared of what?" Hutchins demanded. "Of you, sir." The words came out before Marcus could stop them. But they were true. He was terrified. Hutchins' face turned red. "You little—" "That's enough." Chen stepped between them. She looked at Hutchins hard. "Something doesn't feel right here. You questioning my integrity?" "I'm questioning the circumstances. Then maybe you should go back to patrol and let me finish this arrest." Chen pulled out her radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 247. Can you run a history for me? Officer Dale Hutchins. I need a list of his drug-related arrests over the past 6 months." "What are you doing?" Hutchins demanded. "My job. I'm your senior officer. And I'm documenting this stop properly." Marcus watched them face off. The tension was thick enough to cut. His legs ached from standing still for so long. His shoulders hurt from keeping his hands on the hood. But he didn't dare move. Chen's radio crackled. The dispatcher's voice came through. "Unit 247, that's an unusual request. Can you confirm?" "Confirmed." "I need that history." A pause. Then, "Stand by." That's when Marcus saw the headlights. 2 more vehicles approaching. But these weren't patrol cars. These were black SUVs. Dark windows. No markings. They moved fast, pulling up behind Chen's car and blocking the whole scene. Hutchins saw them too. His face went white. The doors opened. Men and women in dark suits stepped out. They moved with purpose, with authority. The lead woman was black, tall, with sharp eyes that took in everything at once. She pulled out a leather wallet and flipped it open. "FBI," she said, "Special Agent Carla Morrison, nobody move." Agent Morrison walked toward them like she owned the street. 5 other agents fanned out behind her. 2 went to Hutchins's patrol car. 2 positioned themselves near Marcus's Honda. 1 stayed by the SUVs, watching everything. Marcus's head spun. FBI? What was the FBI doing here? Had he accidentally gotten caught up in something bigger? Was he in even more trouble now? "Special Agent Carla Morrison," the woman said again. She held up her badge for everyone to see. Gold and official. Real. "This scene is now under federal jurisdiction." Hutchins found his voice. "What? You can't just—" "I can and I am." Morrison's voice cut through his protest like a knife. "Step away from the suspect's vehicle, Officer Hutchins. This is my traffic stop. My arrest. You have no authority here." Morrison smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Actually, I have all the authority here. This is an active federal investigation. You're interfering." Investigation into what? But even as Hutchins asked, his voice shook. He knew something. Marcus could hear it. "Into you." Morrison said simply. The words hung in the air. Into you. Marcus's mind raced to catch up. The FBI was investigating Officer Hutchins. How long had this been going on? Did that mean, I want to see a warrant? Hutchins demanded. His face was red now. Angry red. Scared red. Morrison nodded to one of her agents. The man pulled folded papers from his jacket and handed them to Hutchins. Warrant to monitor your activities. Warrant to seize evidence. Warrant to arrest you if necessary. Take your pick, they're all signed by a federal judge. Hutchins grabbed the papers. His hands shook as he read them. Marcus could see the color draining from the officer's face. Whatever those papers said, it was bad for Hutchins. Morrison turned to Marcus. Her expression softened. Son, are you hurt? No, ma'am. Marcus's voice came out as a whisper. He cleared his throat. No, ma'am. I'm not hurt. You can put your hands down now. You're not under arrest. Marcus lifted his hands off the hood. They were stiff and sore. He rubbed his wrists without thinking about it. What's your name? Morrison asked. Marcus Webb. How old are you, Marcus? 17, ma'am. Morrison's jaw tightened. 17. She looked at Hutchins with pure disgust, then back to Marcus. Can you tell me what happened here tonight? Marcus told her everything. The traffic stop. The taillight he was sure wasn't broken. How Hutchins made him get out of the car. The search he didn't really consent to. The drugs that appeared out of nowhere. His voice shook as he talked, but he got through it. Morrison listened carefully. She didn't interrupt. When Marcus finished, she nodded. Thank you for being so clear. That took courage. Am I in trouble? Marcus had to ask. Those drugs are not yours, Morrison said firmly. We know they're not yours, Marcus. How do you know? Because we've been watching Officer Hutchins plant evidence on people for the past 6 months. The words hit Marcus like a truck. 6 months. Multiple people. This wasn't just happening to him. This was a pattern, a system. Hutchins had done this before. Probably many times before. Officer Chen stepped forward. Agent Morrison, I'm Officer Sarah Chen. I arrived as backup about 15 minutes ago. I witnessed suspicious behavior. The dash cam angle was blocked during the alleged discovery. The timeline seemed rushed. I was about to request Hutchins's arrest history when you arrived. Morrison looked at Chen with something like respect. Good instincts, Officer Chen. We'll need your full statement. Yes, ma'am. Happy to cooperate. Chen glanced at Hutchins. I've had concerns about his arrests before, complaints from the community, but they never went anywhere. They're going somewhere now, Morrison said. Hutchins finally found his voice again. This is entrapment. You set me up. We didn't set you up, Morrison corrected. We gave you rope. You hung yourself. We've been monitoring you for months. We have surveillance footage from multiple traffic stops. We have testimony from your previous victims. We have forensic evidence that proves you've been planting drugs on innocent people. Previous victims? Marcus asked. His stomach turned. How many? Morrison's face was grim. At least 12 that we know of. Young black men, most of them teenagers, all of them innocent, all of them now with criminal records because of Officer Hutchins. Marcus felt sick. 12 people, 12 lives destroyed, 12 families torn apart, and he almost became number 13. Some of them took plea deals, Morrison continued. They're in prison right now, serving time for crimes they didn't commit, because they were scared, because they thought no one would believe them over a cop. Why? Marcus looked at Hutchins. Why would you do this? Hutchins said nothing. He just stared at the ground. Because he could. Morrison answered for him. Because he thought he was untouchable. Because he has a problem with young black men existing in his town. One of the agents called out from Hutchins' patrol car. Agent Morrison, you need to see this. Morrison walked over. The agent showed her something in the trunk of Hutchins' car. Marcus couldn't see what it was from where he stood, But Morrison's expression darkened. She reached into the trunk with gloved hands. She pulled out a small black bag. She unzipped it. Inside were more plastic bags, more drugs, different kinds, cocaine, marijuana, pills, all in small quantities, all ready to plant. His throwaway stash, Morrison said quietly, just like the others. Others? Chen asked. We've investigated 3 other officers in different states with the same pattern. They keep drugs in their vehicles, plant them during traffic stops, target specific demographics. It's a civil rights violation, a federal crime. And these officers think they'll never get caught because who's going to believe a kid over a cop? Morrison took photos of the drugs. Her team documented everything, every angle, every bag. They worked fast and professional. This wasn't their first time doing this. Hutchins stood there watching his career end, his freedom end. Everything he thought he was protected by crumbling around him. Officer Dale Hutchins, Morrison said, walking back to him. You're under arrest for deprivation of rights under color of law, for planting evidence, for filing false reports, for perjury, and for violating the civil rights of at least 12 individuals. You can't prove any of that, Hutchins said, but his voice was weak, defeated. Actually, we can. Morrison signaled to her agents. 2 of them moved toward Hutchins. We have video surveillance from multiple sources. We had cameras installed in businesses near your frequent patrol areas. We documented 4 separate incidents of you planting evidence. We have forensic analysis showing your fingerprints on evidence bags submitted in previous cases. We have digital records of you accessing the evidence locker outside of logged incidents. We have testimony from other officers who witnessed your behavior but were too scared to report it. The agents pulled Hutchins's arms behind his back. The handcuffs clicked shut. The sound echoed in the quiet street. Marcus watched the man who tried to ruin his life get arrested instead. It didn't feel real. We also have today's incident, Morrison continued. We had 2 agents in an unmarked car following you. They witnessed the entire traffic stop. They saw you go to your trunk. They saw you approach this vehicle with your hand in your pocket. They filmed everything. Hutchins closed his eyes. I want a lawyer. You'll get one. At the federal building. After we process you. They led Hutchins to one of the SUVs. He didn't resist. He just walked like a dead man. Empty. Hollow. Marcus watched him go and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just exhaustion. Morrison turned back to Marcus. I need you to come to our field office. Give a full statement. We'll call your mother. Let her know you're safe. This is going to be a long night for you, but I promise you're not in trouble. You're a witness, a victim, and we're going to make this right. The other guys, Marcus said. The 12 you mentioned. What happens to them? We're working on it. The ones in prison are getting their cases reviewed. We're petitioning for their immediate release. The ones who took plea deals are having their records expunged. It's a process, but we're moving fast. What about my car? Marcus asked. Can I drive it home? We need to process it as evidence first. Document everything. We'll have it returned to you within a few days. For now, one of my agents will drive you to the field office. Your mother can meet you there. Marcus nodded. He was too tired to argue, too overwhelmed to think straight. Officer Chen approached him. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner about Hutchins. I had suspicions, but no proof. I should have tried harder. You helped tonight, Marcus said. That matters. Still, you shouldn't have gone through this at all. Agent Morrison checked her watch. Okay, let's move. We have a lot of work to do tonight. Chen, I'll need your statement. Marcus, this way. As Marcus walked to the SUV, he looked back at his Honda. His basketball gear was still scattered on the ground. His papers were still thrown across the seats. The car that was supposed to take him home safely had almost become his prison, all because of one man's hatred. An agent opened the SUV door for Marcus. You okay, son? Marcus climbed in. I don't know, he said honestly. Ask me tomorrow. The SUV pulled away from the scene. Through the window, Marcus saw more police cars arriving, more agents, crime scene tape going up. His quiet street had become a federal crime scene. His phone buzzed in his pocket. The voice recording was still going. It had captured everything. The FBI field office was nothing like Marcus expected. It wasn't dark and scary like in the movies. It was bright, almost too bright. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The walls were plain white. Government beige furniture filled the waiting area. Everything looked clean and official and cold. Marcus sat in a small interview room. The table was metal. The chairs were uncomfortable. A camera blinked red in the corner. Recording, always recording. At least this time, Marcus wanted to be recorded. This time, the recording would help him instead of being used against him. Agent Morrison sat across from him. She had a laptop open and a legal pad full of notes. Another agent stood by the door. His name was Agent Williams. He was older, with gray hair and kind eyes. He had given Marcus a bottle of water and a candy bar when they first arrived. "Your mother is on her way," Morrison said. "She should be here in about 20 minutes. I spoke with her personally." Explained the situation. She was understandably upset. Marcus could imagine. His mom getting a call that her son was pulled over, that the FBI was involved. Her worst nightmare. Every black mother's worst nightmare. Your child leaving the house and not knowing if they'll come home safe. "Can I call her?" Marcus asked. "Just to hear her voice?" "Of course." Morrison slid her phone across the table. "Take your time," Marcus dialed. His mom answered on the first ring. "Marcus?" Her voice was thick with tears. "Baby, are you okay?" "I'm okay, Mom, I promise." "I'm safe," she sobbed, full heavy sobs that broke Marcus's heart. "When they told me you were pulled over, I thought, I know, Mom, but I'm fine. The FBI helped me. They stopped it before anything bad happened. That officer tried to frame you." It wasn't a question. His mother knew. She had always known this could happen. She had prepared him for it his whole life. And it still almost destroyed them both, yeah. But he's arrested now. "It's over. It's not over until you're home with me." "Soon, Mom, I have to give my statement first. Then they'll bring me home. Agent Morrison is nice. She's taking care of me." His mother took a shaky breath. "You put her on the phone." Marcus handed the phone to Morrison. "She wants to talk to you." Morrison took the phone. "Mrs. Webb?" "Yes, ma'am. I understand. I promise you your son is safe here. He's not in any trouble. He's a victim and a witness, and we're going to protect him." "Yes, ma'am. I have a son his age, too. I would want the same assurances." "You have my word." Whatever his mother said next made Morrison nod seriously. "Yes, ma'am, I will." "You too." Morrison ended the call and gave Marcus a small smile. "Your mother is strong." "She has to be," Marcus said quietly. "Ready to give your statement?" Marcus nodded. He was tired. His body ached. His mind felt foggy. But he needed to do this. For himself. For the 12 other guys. For everyone who came after. Morrison opened a fresh document on her laptop. "I'm going to record this interview. Is that okay with you?" "Yes. State your full name for the record." "Marcus Anthony Webb." "Date of birth?" "March 15th, 2008. "Address?" Marcus gave his address. His mother's name. His school information. Everything they asked. Then Morrison got to the real questions. "Tell me about tonight. Start from the beginning. Don't leave anything out. Even details that seem small might be important." Marcus told the story again. This time slower. More detailed. Morrison stopped him occasionally to ask questions. What exact words did Hutchins use? Where exactly was the officer standing? What angle was the dash cam? How long was Hutchins at his trunk? Every detail mattered. When Marcus got to the part about the drugs appearing, Morrison leaned forward. "You said you saw Hutchins go to his trunk. What did he do there?" "He opened it. Stood there for maybe 30 seconds. His body blocked my view. Then he came back with his hand in his pocket." "Did you see what was in his pocket?" "No. But when he searched my car the second time, he pulled something out. That's when the drugs appeared." "And you're certain those drugs were not in your vehicle before the traffic stop?" "Completely certain. I clean my car every Sunday. My mom taught me to keep it neat. There was nothing in that car except my basketball stuff and school papers." Morrison typed rapidly. "Tell me about Officer Hutchins. Had you ever had contact with him before tonight?" "No, but I knew his name. Everyone in the black community knows his name." "What do you mean?" Marcus chose his words carefully. "People talk. Other guys my age. Older men in the neighborhood. They say Hutchins targets us. They say he pulls over young black men for no reason, makes traffic stops last forever, Searches cars without cause. Some guy said he planted evidence, but I thought that was just rumors. Guys making excuses for getting caught. But it wasn't rumors. No, it was real. It was all real. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. How many complaints were filed against him? How many people tried to report him? Morrison closed her laptop. She looked at Marcus directly. 17 formal complaints over 3 years. Multiple accusations of racial profiling. 3 allegations of planting evidence. All of them dismissed by the Internal Affairs Department. Why? Because Hutchins is good at covering his tracks. Because he has friends in the department who protect him. Because the system is designed to believe cops over civilians, especially when those civilians are young black men. That's not justice. No, it's not. That's why we're here. The FBI opened this investigation 6 months ago after a pattern was brought to our attention. A civil rights attorney contacted us with evidence from multiple cases, similar circumstances. Same officer, same department, same outcome. We couldn't ignore it. Agent Williams spoke up from his position by the door. We've been building this case carefully. We needed solid evidence, video proof, multiple incidents. We had to wait for Hutchins to incriminate himself beyond any reasonable doubt. So you knew he was doing this and you let him keep doing it? Marcus couldn't hide his anger now. You let him keep targeting people? We had surveillance on him, Morrison said. We were ready to intervene if he tried to plant evidence. Tonight we had 2 agents following him. They were watching the entire traffic stop from an unmarked car parked down the street. If Hutchins had escalated beyond planting evidence, if he had threatened violence or tried to physically harm you, they would have intervened immediately. But you let him plant the drugs. We needed him to complete the act, to show his full pattern of behavior. I know that's hard to hear. I know it doesn't feel fair to you. You were scared. You were victimized, and I'm deeply sorry for that. But without tonight's incident, we might not have enough to prosecute successfully. He would have walked, and he would have kept doing this to other people. Marcus understood the logic. He hated it, but he understood it. What happens now? Now we build the case against him. We interview all his previous victims. We review every arrest he made. We examine the evidence he submitted in every case. We prove pattern and practice. We prove racial bias. We prove conspiracy to violate civil rights. Will he go to prison? If we do our job right, yes. For a long time. Morrison pulled out a folder from her bag. She opened it and showed Marcus photographs. Young black men, different ages but all between 16 and 25. All with similar expressions of fear and anger and despair. These are the 12 we know about, Morrison said. Anthony, Jamal, Deshaun, Kevin, Terrell, Brandon, Isaiah, Marcus, different Marcus, Tyler, Elijah, Andre, Khalil. All pulled over by Hutchins. All had drugs planted in their vehicles or on their person. All arrested. All charged. Marcus looked at each photo. He saw himself in their eyes. What happened to them? Anthony and Jamal are in prison. They took plea deals because they couldn't afford good lawyers. They're serving 18 months each. Deshaun fought his case and lost. He's serving 3 years. Kevin is on probation, but he lost his job because of the arrest. Terrell was kicked out of college. Brandon lost custody of his daughter in a custody battle because of his record. Each story was worse than the last. Lives destroyed. Futures stolen. All because of one racist cop with a badge and a bag of drugs. Isaiah died, Morrison said quietly. Marcus's head snapped up. What? 6 months after his arrest. He was released on bail, but the stress was too much. He had a heart condition. The fear and anxiety triggered a heart attack. He was 19 years old. Marcus felt tears burning his eyes. He didn't fight them this time. He let them fall. This is my fault. No. Morrison's voice was firm. This is Dale Hutchins's fault. No one else's. You didn't do this. He did. But if I had spoken up sooner, if I had, you couldn't have known. None of them could have known. That's how predators like Hutchins work. They isolate their victims, make them feel alone, make them think no one will believe them, make them think they're the only one. Williams handed Marcus a tissue. Marcus wiped his eyes. He felt exhausted down to his bones. The ones who are in prison, Marcus said. How fast can you get them out? We're filing emergency motions tomorrow morning. With the evidence we have now, the surveillance footage, Hutchins's arrest, the drugs we found in his patrol car, we have grounds for immediate release. If the judge agrees, Anthony and Jamal could be home within 48 hours. And their records? We'll file to have all charges dismissed. Full exoneration. Once that's done, we'll help them get their records expunged. It won't undo what they went through, but it will give them their lives back. Marcus thought about his scholarships, his college plans, his future that almost got stolen tonight. These 12 men had lost all of that. Some lost even more. I want to meet them, Marcus said suddenly. All of them. I want to tell them I'm sorry this happened to them. I want them to know someone cares. Morrison nodded. When this goes to trial, you'll all be witnesses. You'll likely meet then, but I can arrange something sooner if you'd like. I'd like that. There was a knock at the door. Another agent poked her head in. Agent Morrison? Mrs. Webb is here, and bring her in. The door opened wider and Marcus's mother rushed in. She grabbed him and held him so tight he could barely breathe. She was crying and laughing at the same time, checking him over like he was 5 years old again, touching his face, his arms, making sure he was real and whole and safe. My baby, she kept saying. My baby boy. Marcus hugged her back just as tight. He was taller than her now, but he felt small in her arms. Safe, protected, home. Morrison gave them a moment. Then she gently explained everything again. The investigation. The arrest. What happened tonight? What comes next? Marcus's mother listened with tears streaming down her face. He could have killed my son, she said. This man could have killed my baby. I know, Morrison said softly. I'm a mother too. I know. What can I do? How can I help? Keep Marcus safe. Help him through this. Be there when he testifies. And know that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure Dale Hutchins never wears a badge again. Marcus's mother nodded. Then she looked at Morrison with steel in her eyes. I want him to pay for all of them. Not just for Marcus. For every boy he hurt. For Isaiah. For all of them. He will, Morrison promised. I give you my word. 3 months later, the federal courthouse was packed. News cameras lined the street outside. Reporters shouted questions at anyone who walked by. The story had become national news. Racist cop's reign of terror exposed. FBI brings down corrupt officer. 12 innocent men framed. Marcus sat in the front row of the courtroom with his mother. On his left was Jamal, released from prison 2 days after Hutchins's arrest. On his right was Anthony, who cried when he walked out of prison a free man. Behind them sat the other victims. Terrell, who got readmitted to college. Kevin, who was fighting to get his job back. Brandon, who had another custody hearing scheduled now that his record was cleared. Isaiah's mother sat in the back. She wore a button with her son's photo on it. 19 years old, smiling at the camera, a smile that should still be here. Marcus turned around and made eye contact with her. She nodded at him. No words needed. They both understood loss. The bailiff stood. All rise. The United States District Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Patricia Chen presiding. Everyone stood as the judge entered. She was an older Asian woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. She took her seat at the bench and surveyed the courtroom. You may be seated, Judge Chen said. We are here today in the case of United States of America versus Dale Michael Hutchins. Is the defendant present? Yes, Your Honor. Hutchins's lawyer stood. An expensive-looking white man in a suit that probably cost more than Marcus's car. My client is here and ready to proceed. Marcus looked at Hutchins. The former officer sat at the defense table. He wore civilian clothes. A dark suit. No badge, no gun, no power. He looked smaller somehow, older. The arrogance was gone. In its place was fear. Is the government ready? Judge Chen asked. Assistant U.S. Attorney James Crawford stood. He was a black man in his 40s, tall and confident. Yes, Your Honor. The government is ready. Mr. Crawford, please present your opening statement. Crawford walked to the center of the courtroom. He looked at the jury. 12 people who would decide Hutchins's fate. Black, white, Asian, Latino, men and women, young and old, a cross-section of America. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Crawford began, over the next few days you're going to hear about a man who betrayed everything a police officer should stand for. A man who used his badge not to protect and serve but to terrorize and destroy. A man who systematically targeted young black men in his community and ruined their lives. Crawford walked to a large board covered with photographs. The 12 victims, all lined up in 2 rows. These are the faces of Dale Hutchins' crimes. 12 young men, 12 innocent people, 12 lives forever changed by one man's hatred and corruption. He pointed to each photo as he spoke their names. Anthony Williams, 19 years old when Officer Hutchins planted cocaine in his car. He spent 6 months in prison before the truth came out. Jamal Foster, 21 years old, spent 8 months in prison, lost his job, lost his apartment, lost his faith in the justice system. Crawford continued down the line. Each name, each story, each life destroyed. When he got to Isaiah's photo, he paused. Isaiah Thompson, 19 years old. A college freshman studying engineering. Officer Hutchins planted drugs in his backpack during a traffic stop. Isaiah was arrested, held overnight, released on bail. But the stress was too much for his heart condition. 6 months later, Isaiah died of a heart attack. He never saw justice. He never got to clear his name. He never got to become the engineer he dreamed of being. Isaiah's mother sobbed quietly. Other people in the courtroom wiped their eyes. The defense will tell you that these were legitimate arrests, Crawford said. That Officer Hutchins was just doing his job. That the evidence was real, but we will prove beyond any doubt that Dale Hutchins is a liar, a racist, a criminal in a uniform. We will show you surveillance footage of him planting evidence. We will show you text messages where he used racial slurs. We will show you the drugs he kept hidden in his patrol car. And we will show you his pattern of behavior that makes it impossible to claim this was anything but intentional, systematic violation of civil rights. Crawford walked back to his table. At the end of this trial, we will ask you to find Dale Hutchins guilty on all counts. Not for revenge, not for punishment, but for justice. Justice for these 12 men, justice for their families, and justice for every person who deserves to live in a world where police officers protect everyone equally. He sat down. The courtroom was silent. Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Judge Chen looked at the defense table. Mr. Brennan, your opening statement. Hutchins' lawyer stood slowly. Richard Brennan looked uncomfortable. He cleared his throat. Your Honor, members of the jury. My client has served this community for 15 years. 15 years of protecting citizens. 15 years of risking his life every day. Yes, he made arrests. Yes, drugs were found. But that doesn't make him a racist. That doesn't make him corrupt. The prosecution wants you to believe in a conspiracy. They want you to think a decorated officer suddenly became a criminal. But the truth is simpler. These were legitimate arrests. These men had drugs. They got caught, and now they're trying to blame the officer who caught them. Marcus felt anger burning in his chest. Lies. All lies. We will show you that Officer Hutchins followed proper procedure. Brennan continued. We will show you that he had probable cause for each stop. We will show you that the evidence against these men was real. The FBI wants a scapegoat. They want to show they're tough on police misconduct. But sacrificing a good officer to make a point is not justice. Brennan sat down. Crawford looked ready to jump up and object, but Judge Chen raised her hand. Opening statements complete. Mr. Crawford, call your first witness. The government calls Special Agent Carla Morrison. Morrison walked to the witness stand. She was sworn in. She sat down and looked directly at the jury. Agent Morrison, please tell the jury about the FBI's investigation into Dale Hutchins. Morrison spoke clearly and professionally. She explained how the investigation started, how they received multiple complaints, how they established surveillance, how they documented pattern after pattern of misconduct. We monitored Officer Hutchins for 6 months, Morrison said. In that time, we observed him pull over 43 vehicles. 39 of those vehicles were driven by people of color. Only 4 were driven by white individuals. Of those 39 stops of people of color, 32 involved young black males between the ages of 16 and 25. And what did you observe during these stops? Crawford asked. In 14 cases, Officer Hutchins conducted searches. In 7 of those cases, he allegedly found drugs. We noticed a pattern. Hutchins would position himself to block his dashboard camera. He would return to his patrol car. Then he would approach the suspect vehicle again and discover evidence. Did you find this suspicious? Extremely. So we installed cameras in businesses near Hutchins's regular patrol areas. We also had agents conduct mobile surveillance. What we discovered confirmed our suspicions. Crawford presented a video on screens throughout the courtroom, security footage from a gas station. The timestamp showed 2 months before Marcus's stop. A young black man was pulled over. Officer Hutchins approached, talked to the driver, then returned to his patrol car. The angle was perfect. It showed Hutchins opening his trunk, taking something from a bag. putting it in his pocket, then returning to the suspect vehicle and discovering drugs. The jury watched in silence. There was no audio, but the actions were clear, damning, obvious. "We documented 4 separate incidents on video," Morrison said. "In each case, the pattern was identical. Traffic stop. Return to patrol car. Access trunk or evidence compartment. Return to suspect vehicle. Discovery of drugs. Crawford played the other videos. Different locations. Different victims. Same pattern. Same officer. Same crime. And what did you find when you arrested Officer Hutchins? In the trunk of his patrol car, we found a black duffel bag. Inside were 12 baggies of cocaine, 8 baggies of marijuana, 30 pills of various controlled substances. None of this was logged as official evidence. None of it had case numbers. It was his personal stash for planting. How do you know it was for planting? We ran forensic tests. Officer Hutchins's fingerprints were all over the bags. But in the official evidence photos from previous arrests, those same bags supposedly had only the suspect's fingerprints. Someone manipulated the evidence chain. We believe Hutchins wore gloves when he handled drugs during arrests, but not when he stored them in his personal stash. Crawford let that sink in. Tell the jury about the night you arrested Officer Hutchins. Morrison described that night in detail. Marcus's traffic stop, the observation by undercover agents, the moment she decided to intervene. The drugs found in Hutchins's trunk. The arrest, why did you wait so long to intervene? Crawford asked. Marcus Webb was in danger that night. We had agents monitoring the situation closely. If Officer Hutchins had escalated to violence, we would have intervened immediately. But we needed to observe the complete act of planting evidence. We needed irrefutable proof. I know that put Marcus in a difficult position. I know it was frightening for him. But without observing the full crime, Hutchins might have claimed he was interrupted before finding the drugs naturally. He might have walked free, and he would have continued victimizing people. Crawford nodded. No further questions. Brennan stood for cross-examination. Agent Morrison, isn't it possible that these men actually had drugs? That Officer Hutchins legitimately found them? No. How can you be so certain? Because we watched him plant them. Because his fingerprints are on the bags. Because he kept an illegal stash in his vehicle. Because the statistical probability of one officer finding drugs on this many young black men in routine traffic stops is astronomical. But you can't prove those specific drugs on those specific dates were planted. Actually, we can. We have video evidence. We have forensic evidence. We have pattern evidence. We have Officer Hutchins's own text messages where he bragged about cleaning up the streets and used racial slurs to describe the people he arrested. Objection, Brennan said. Relevance. Overruled, Judge Chen said. The text messages are relevant to establish bias and intent. Crawford stood. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence text messages from Officer Hutchins's phone, retrieved with a warrant. Proceed. The messages appeared on the courtroom screens. Marcus read them and felt sick. Hutchins texting another officer. Got another one today. These thugs never learn. Another message. Pulled over 3 of them this week. All dirty. All going down. Another. They don't belong in our town. Just doing my part to clean it up. And the worst one. Sent the night he arrested Anthony. Made the streets safer tonight. One less thug dealing poison. You're welcome. Anthony, sitting next to Marcus, stared at the screen. His hands were shaking. Marcus reached over and squeezed his shoulder. The trial continued for 3 more days. More witnesses testified. The other victims told their stories. Officer Chen explained what she saw that night. Forensic experts confirmed the fingerprint evidence. Digital analysts explained Hutchins's search patterns and arrest records. The defense called character witnesses. Fellow officers who said Hutchins was a good cop. Neighbors who said he was a nice man. But their testimony felt hollow against the mountain of evidence. On the 4th day, Dale Hutchins took the stand. Dale Hutchins sat in the witness stand and raised his right hand. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Marcus watched him carefully. The former officer looked tired, defeated, but there was still defiance in his eyes. Still a belief that somehow he could talk his way out of this. His lawyer, Richard Brennan, approached. Officer Hutchins, how long did you serve in law enforcement? 15 years. And in those 15 years, how would you describe your service? I was dedicated. I worked hard. I tried to keep my community safe. Did you ever plant drugs on anyone? Hutchins looked directly at the jury. No, never. Those were all legitimate arrests. The prosecution has shown video that appears to show you accessing your trunk before discovering evidence. How do you explain that? I was getting gloves, equipment. Sometimes I needed forms from my car. The videos don't show the full context. What about the drugs found in your patrol car when you were arrested? Those were evidence from previous cases. I was transporting them to the evidence locker. I didn't have time to log them properly that day. Marcus almost laughed. The lies were so obvious. So desperate, Crawford stood up. Your Honor, I have evidence that directly contradicts that claim. May I approach the witness? You may. Crawford walked to the witness stand with a tablet. Officer Hutchins, these are the evidence logs from your department. According to this, you last checked in evidence 3 weeks before your arrest. All items were accounted for. So which cases were these drugs from? Hutchins hesitated. I don't remember the specific case numbers. You don't remember? You claim these were legitimate pieces of evidence from active investigations, but you can't tell us which cases. It's been a long time. I handled a lot of cases. Drugs were found the same night you arrested Marcus. Webb, are you saying you were transporting evidence from unrelated cases to the evidence locker at the same time you were on patrol making a traffic stop? Yes, that's what happened. Crawford pulled up another document on the tablet. According to your duty logs, you weren't scheduled to transport evidence that night. You were on regular patrol, so why would you have evidence in your personal vehicle? I must have forgotten to take it in earlier. For weeks? I was busy. Crawford walked back to his table. He picked up the evidence bag containing the drugs from Hutchins's trunk. Officer Hutchins, your fingerprints are all over these bags. Yet in official evidence photos, you're always wearing gloves when handling drugs. Why would your fingerprints be on evidence you supposedly collected properly? Hutchins's face flushed red. I don't know. Maybe I touched them when checking inventory. Without gloves? When department policy requires gloves for all evidence handling. It was a mistake. A mistake. Just like pulling over 39 people of color out of 43 traffic stops was a mistake. Just like the text messages where you called these young men thugs were a mistake. Objection. Brennan jumped up. The prosecutor is badgering the witness. Overruled. The witness will answer. Hutchins gripped the arms of his chair. Those texts were taken out of context. What context makes calling someone a thug and bragging about getting them off the streets acceptable for a police officer? I was frustrated. The drug problem in our town is serious. So serious that you had to create fake drug cases to justify your prejudice. That's not what I did. Then what did you do, Officer Hutchins? Explain to this jury how video evidence shows you accessing your trunk, approaching vehicles, and miraculously finding drugs. Explain how your fingerprints got on evidence bags that should only have suspects' prints. Explain why you targeted young black men at nearly 10 times the rate of white drivers. Explain it all. Hutchins opened his mouth, closed it. His lawyer looked panicked. There was no good answer. No explanation that made sense. I was doing my job, Hutchins finally said. Weak, defeated. Your job was to protect and serve. Instead, you terrorized and framed. You destroyed lives. You betrayed your badge, and you did it all because of the color of people's skin. Objection. Withdrawn. Crawford walked away. No further questions. Brennan tried to repair the damage on redirect. But it was hopeless. Hutchins couldn't explain away the evidence. The videos. The fingerprints. The statistics. The pattern. Everything pointed to the same truth. He was guilty. The trial moved to closing arguments. Crawford spoke first. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the evidence. Video footage of Officer Hutchins planting drugs. Forensic proof that his fingerprints are on evidence he claimed never to touch. Statistical data showing he targeted young black men. Text messages revealing his prejudice. Testimony from 12 victims whose lives he destroyed. And testimony from Officer Hutchins himself, where he couldn't provide a single credible explanation for his actions. Crawford walked to the jury box. This isn't a complicated case. This isn't about reasonable doubt. This is about a man who abused his power, who violated the trust given to him, who looked at young black men and saw them not as citizens to protect, but as targets to destroy. Dale Hutchins is guilty. The evidence proves it. Your conscience knows it. I ask you to deliver the verdict that justice demands. Guilty on all counts. Brennan's closing was brief. He couldn't argue facts, so he tried emotion. This is a good man who made mistakes, who got caught up in a stressful job, who maybe cut corners but didn't have malice in his heart. Consider his years of service. Consider the pressure he was under. Consider that everyone deserves a second chance. It wasn't convincing. Even Brennan seemed to know it. Judge Chen gave instructions to the jury. They filed out to deliberate. Marcus and the others waited. Minutes became hours. Marcus's mother held his hand. Jamal paced the hallway. Anthony sat still, eyes closed, probably praying. After 6 hours, the jury sent a note. They had reached a verdict. Everyone filed back into the courtroom. The jury took their seats. Hutchins stood, his lawyer beside him. His face was pale. His hands shook. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Chen asked. The jury foreman stood, a middle-aged black woman with a teacher's stern expression. Yes, Your Honor, we have. On the charge of deprivation of rights under color of law, how do you find? Guilty, Marcus heard Isaiah's mother gasp. Heard Jamal whisper yes under his breath. On the charge of planting evidence, guilty. On the charge of filing false reports, guilty. On the charge of perjury, guilty. On the charge of violating civil rights, guilty. Count after count, guilty, 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 12 charges total. Guilty on every single one. Hutchins collapsed into his chair. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder. In the gallery, some people cried. Some cheered quietly. Some just sat in stunned relief. Judge Chen banged her gavel. Order. This court will maintain decorum. She looked at Hutchins. Mr. Hutchins, you've been found guilty on all charges. Sentencing will be scheduled for 6 weeks from today. Until then, you will remain in federal custody without bond. Bailiff, please remand the defendant. 2 federal marshals came forward. They handcuffed Hutchins. He didn't resist. Didn't speak. They led him away through a side door. Marcus watched him go and felt something close to peace. Not happiness. Not celebration. Just peace. Justice had been served. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Agent Morrison made a brief statement. Today's verdict sends a clear message. Police officers who abuse their power will be held accountable. The FBI remains committed to investigating civil rights violations and ensuring equal justice for all. Crawford spoke next. This victory belongs to the 12 young men who had the courage to come forward, who trusted the system even after it failed them, who demanded justice and wouldn't give up until they received it. Marcus stood with the other victims. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. He felt his mother's hand in his, felt Jamal's shoulder against his, felt the weight of the past 3 months lifting. A reporter pushed through the crowd. Marcus, how do you feel about the verdict? Marcus thought carefully about his answer. I feel relieved. I feel grateful. But mostly I feel sad that it took this long. That 12 of us had to suffer before anyone took action. Officer Hutchins's victims aren't just us 12. His victims are everyone in our community who lived in fear. Everyone who got pulled over and wondered if they'd go home that night. Everyone who stopped trusting police because of men like him. What do you want people to learn from your story? That we have to speak up. That we have to demand accountability. That police officers work for us, not the other way around. And that racism in law enforcement is real. It's not an excuse. It's not a myth. It's real, and it almost destroyed my life. The reporter turned to Anthony. You spent 6 months in prison for a crime you didn't commit. What do you want to say to Officer Hutchins? Anthony was quiet for a long moment. I forgive him. Not because he deserves it, but because hate was his disease and I won't let it become mine. He took 6 months of my life. He won't take any more. 6 weeks later, they all returned for sentencing. The courtroom was packed again. Judge Chen looked at Hutchins, who stood before her in an orange jumpsuit. Mr. Hutchins, you've been found guilty of serious crimes. You betrayed your oath. You betrayed your community. You betrayed the young men whose lives you were supposed to protect. The law requires me to consider many factors in sentencing. Your lack of remorse, the number of victims, the abuse of your position of trust, the racial animus that motivated your crimes. She paused. The courtroom held its breath. I hereby sentence you to 18 years in federal prison. No parole. You will also be required to pay restitution to each of your victims. And you are permanently prohibited from serving in any law enforcement capacity. 18 years. Hutchins would be in his 60s when he got out. His career was over. His freedom was gone. His legacy was destroyed. Marshals led him away. This time Marcus didn't watch. He had seen enough of Dale Hutchins. He never wanted to see him again. After the sentencing, life slowly returned to normal. But it was a different normal. Marcus started college on his basketball scholarship. He played well, but found his real passion was criminal justice. He wanted to study the system, understand it, help change it. He spoke at high schools about his experience, about knowing your rights, about filming police encounters, about demanding accountability. His story inspired others to speak up, to file complaints, to push for change. The police department underwent major reforms. New chief, body cameras for all officers, community oversight board, implicit bias training. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Anthony got his job back and enrolled in community college. Jamal moved to another city for a fresh start. Terrell graduated with honors. Kevin won back partial custody of his daughter. One by one, the victims rebuilt their lives. Isaiah's mother started a foundation in her son's name, the Isaiah Thompson Fund. It provided legal assistance to people who believed they were victims of police misconduct. It helped dozens of families get justice. A year after the trial, Marcus organized a gathering. All 12 victims together for the first time. They met at a community center, shared meals, shared stories, shared healing. We survived, Jamal said, raising a glass. We survived and we won. To Isaiah, Anthony added. Who should be here but isn't? To Isaiah, everyone echoed. They talked late into the night. About their trauma. About their healing. About their hopes for the future. About the work still left to do. Marcus looked around at their faces. Different backgrounds. Different stories. But connected by a shared experience. United by survival. He tried to destroy us, Marcus said. He tried to make us nothing. But we're still here. We're still standing. We're still fighting. And that's our victory. Not the guilty verdict. Not the prison sentence. Our victory is that we refused to be erased. The others nodded. It was true. Hutchins had tried to write them out of existence. To reduce them to statistics. To criminals. To stereotypes. But they were so much more. They were students. Athletes. Sons. Brothers. Fathers. Dreamers. Survivors. Human beings with value and dignity and worth. Marcus went home that night and wrote in his journal. Something his therapist had recommended. A way to process the trauma. A year ago, a racist cop tried to frame me. He almost succeeded. But the FBI walked in moments later and changed everything. Not just for me, for 12 of us. For our families, for our community. Justice isn't always fast. It isn't always fair. But sometimes, when good people refuse to give up, it does come. And when it does, it changes the world. He closed the journal. Tomorrow he had class. He was studying constitutional law, learning about civil rights, about protections that should exist for everyone but too often don't, about the gap between law on paper and justice in practice. He thought about becoming a lawyer, or maybe an FBI agent like Morrison, or maybe a teacher who helped young people understand their rights. He didn't know yet. But he knew his purpose, to make sure what happened to him and the other 11 never happened to anyone else. Marcus looked at his phone. A text from his mother. Proud of you, baby, always, he smiled. Set the phone down. Opened his textbook. Got to work. The fight wasn't over. It would never be over. But tonight, for the first time in a year, Marcus Webb felt hope. Real hope. The kind that comes not from the absence of struggle, but from the presence of purpose. Dale Hutchins was in prison. The 12 were free. And the work of justice continued. That was enough for now. More than enough, that was everything.